Welcome back to Greels Reels, everybody. Today's guest is actually from my hometown of Claremont, Newfoundland. So, it's always an honor when we get a fellow Claremont native on the show. Kenneth Neal, how's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Uh, Good, man. Thanks for coming on. Like we were just chatting a little bit before, right? It kind of seems that all of our interactions have been this way. I know, I kind of got to know you just writing a few stories for you when I was a reporter with the Packet and whatnot, right? So.
Yeah, back in the day.
And like I said, it was small world. So we've never met, but I played with your brother for a few years of minor hockey. Marcus being just a year older than me and stuff like that. What I'm gonna tell you, man, your brother, one of the better defensemen I had in front of me. I'm not gonna lie, he was solid. I
He was
enjoyed,
pretty good.
yeah, I
Don't
enjoyed
pump his
having him.
tires too much.
I gotta say I enjoyed having him in front of me. Definitely a lot easier to see the puck when he was there for sure. Him and Spencer Norcott were two good ones.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to watch him. Yeah, I think Spencer actually went away and played somewhere.
Yeah, he Spencer went to Ogden and played a little bit there.
Right.
Yeah. So, man, the first thing
Yeah.
really want to talk about is just growing up in Clarenville, right? And I mean, I kind of know the sense of it too, but just playing minor hockey, and how it all started for you.
No, it was awesome to grow up in Claremont, and what's nice about Claremont is there's so many different sports that are kind of successful. So yeah, I played hockey, my whole life growing up, but I also played volleyball right till, grade 10, grade 11. We had some great teams, but hockey was obviously, my number one priority, and we always had good competitive teams. I think we might be only the second team ever to win, midget A, which we did that. I think maybe my second year midget, my first year midget. I can't remember what year it was, but that was a pretty special team. It was fun. I think we were in Corner Brook, or yeah, I think it was Corner Brook, and we won that. So that was kind of a hockey moment that I'll always remember for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, you guys were always like a few years older than myself, right? So I just remember like, how dominant that group was, right? And I mean, yeah, the fact that like you guys won midget A, yeah, I think you're correct. I think you're the only second team to do it. And I mean, since then, nobody else has kind of come close. I mean, I know my last year we were midget B and we won like, I
Hmm.
think two of the 6 games, like didn't make the playoffs. So, and I don't think anybody's won midget A since then. What do you?
Yeah, no, we had some good players. Like I think we had Dustin Flight and Taylor Pittman, Andrew Smith, Lyndon Gooby. Like the list goes on. And like a lot of those guys could have went away and played for sure. They just decided stay back home. But that was a good hockey team.
Yeah, well, I mean, Andrew Smith and Lyndon Gooby, like, I mean, they're two fantastic defensemen. Lyndon plays defense, right? Yeah, I'm not mixing them up with someone.
Yeah, yeah, he's back
Yeah,
in.
yeah, no, those two guys are
No,
solid and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think made that group so special?
I don't know. We were just pretty close, and I think we all every like that like every second year we got to play together, so we are all pretty familiar with each other, and we knew we had a good team. And then going into midget A, because I think that year something came out with AAA where like the St. John's teams couldn't play in the A. I think they had to go to the B,
Hmm.
so we got to jump up to the A. Knowing only one Claremont team won A before, and we played all those teams before. Grand Falls, Gander, Corner Brook, and we've done good. So it was a good group. It was special. It was an awesome memory for sure.
Yeah, so you actually played a little bit of AAA too, and I wanted to ask you what it was like playing for the Frost because I mean now that's just it's an old franchise. They moved into that new look of the
Yes,
Osprey. So what were the Frost days like, man?
it was awesome. I mean, my first year we played at a Bonavista,
Okay.
so they used to pack the stands. We played St. John's, and like that rivalry was crazy back then. Like it was tough hockey. It wasn't. I mean, I'm sure it still is. Maybe it's a little more skilled now, but you had to be a little bit more on the tougher end to play that. And then our second year we played in Bay Roberts, and that was a fun year too. We used to get great fan support out there, and we had some pretty good teams. I think we lost to St. John's. I don't know if it was the finals or the semis, whatever it was, but St. John's always had the best team for sure with guys like Zach O'Brien and Stephen Gillard and players like that. But we always competed, and it was fun for sure.
Yeah, no, it's always. I mean, it's an age-old written thing for Newfoundland, right? Like anybody outside of St. John's, you just because of population, sometimes you're punching above your weight there. Like when you look at just, I mean, teams, right? Like some St. John's teams will have like 30, 40 guys try out for it. And, meanwhile, we'll probably have like, 15 on a good year, maybe 20 guys try out, right? Like you're only kind of cutting like
Yeah.
one or two guys.
Yeah, and back when I played, there was only the one St. John's team, so they were absolutely stacked. Like we got a few guys from St. John's, the guys that got cut.
Okay.
A few of those guys came and played with us, like Shane Morrissey, Joey Yetman. Can't remember
Nice.
the other guys, but there was a few.
So, I
Yeah,
mean, because your next destination ended up being in the CCHL, and what we kind of just realized is that we're both in Ottawa, and like I've become familiar with the CCHL just from like being in Ottawa, and learning about teams, and then obviously some guys go on to play in the U Sport level, so they end up at like the University of Ottawa and whatnot. So I see it through
yeah.
through that panel. But I mean, like, how'd you kind of find out about that league just from growing up where we were from?
So I guess it would have been my third year in midget. There was like a showcase back home, and the Smith Falls Bears and a school called the OHA came to that showcase. Anyway, long story short, I got to try out in Smith Falls, and I went up there, and I think I lasted 2 weeks and got cut and got sent home. And then OHA was like, "Well, you want to come to school here?" And I didn't really know anything about it, but I convinced my parents to kind of let me go, and I went there for a year, and I played there my third year midget and got drafted into PN. And yeah, so just signed with them right after OHA and played 3 years here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a great organization that you end up going to. I mean, Nepean, especially through those years, were just kind of so
Yeah,
strong, and even too. I mean, the reason why we kind of reconnected is because a couple weeks ago we had Ben Hutton on, who is with the Kings now, but
Benny
one of your
Hutt.
old one of your old teammates, right? So yeah, just like stacked with
Yeah.
talent, right? So I mean, I mean, tell me about those Nepean days.
Oh, they're great. I mean, my first year we didn't. I think we were average. I think we finished sixth in the league, but there's still I still play with guys like Buddy Robinson went on played in the NHL. Daniel Alschler, he was maybe a second round pick in the NHL. Like we were still pretty good, just not that good. And then my second year, we just had the right guys and we were unreal. Honestly, we had Hutton play with us. We had Mac Weegar. Two of those guys played in the NHL. Ryan Johnson played games in the NHL. I think he played the Ice Caps too for a little. We got guys like Vinny Lorca who plays in the Pro League in France. They were all on, defense. So we were stacked and we had a good team. We actually beat Pembroke. They were on I think they won the league 5 years in a row. Then we finally beat them in the semis and then beat Cornwall in the finals in game 7, which was, unbelievable. And then went on, we played in the Fred Page Cup and we actually lost to Woodstock in the finals, and they ended up losing the finals by RBC. And then even my third year, we were still pretty good. We made it to the finals again. We ended up losing to Cornwall this year or that year, but we had some great teams in Nepean. It was a good franchise, still is. But yeah, back then we were pretty stacked. We had Pete Gallet as a coach, and he was a great coach, and yeah, it was fun for sure.
When you guys won the league, you had that bleach blonde mullet look for the playoffs. Whose decision was that?
I don't know whose it was, but we pretty much all did it. I think we actually all did it at the billet house. Hut was over, and myself and Brandon Watt and Keegan Hodgins. There's a bunch of us that did it together. Hut actually lived right next door to me, so we were together, almost every day.
It definitely made for memorable photos. That's for sure. I
Yeah,
was
for
looking
sure.
back at a few of
It was a
them.
tough look.
So I mean, one thing that's interesting, like with those teams and like Nepean and whatnot, it is like kind of filled with a lot of local guys, right? So a lot of people from like the Ottawa area and whatnot. How did you kind of like adjust and just kind of get comfortable and I mean deal with the struggles of kind of getting homesick like you would?
Yeah, well, I also had that year away, right? My grade 12 year, I was away, so that kind of helped. And then
Mhm.
when you get put in a good situation, it's easy, right? So my billets were awesome, and there's myself and Brandon, and then we had another billet, Tanner. So there's three of us, and we were real close. And it was nice that we were good too, and we got to practice and go to the gym and all hang out together. So we're all around the same age. It'd be different maybe if you were on a team outside the city that was kind of struggling and wasn't a close team, but it was easy for me. It was the best.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I mean, because a big thing is too is like in terms of like Newfoundland hockey, like you don't kind of get to see. There's not a whole lot of Newfoundlanders playing away sometimes, right? So it's nice to see that, like when they do, you kind of get a good experience and you can kind of pave the way in a sense, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely different. Like back home's the hockey's a lot different. Everyone's a lot closer. But what people don't understand is there's so many good hockey players back home that just never go away.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, 100%. I mean, I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Of like guys where like even I play with it. Like I'm looking at it and it's like, man, like you could definitely probably, be playing on a top junior team away, right? But it's just like
for sure.
sometimes there's just no interest, right? And which is honestly
Yeah,
totally fine too, right? Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
but it's always nice that if they do want to, there's some kind of reference where they can kind of chat with even guys like you listening to this podcast and maybe
Yeah, no,
get a few
absolutely,
pointers. How's it actually feel
for
that
sure.
you're? I was looking at this and I found this a pretty funny statistic. So you're actually on Elite Prospects. You're the most viewed hockey player from Claremont in the history of Claremont, Newfoundland. How's that little stat feel?
I don't know. I never knew that. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I
I
honestly
guess.
I discovered it honestly maybe like 2 weeks ago. I just kind of went into the place of birth component that they have on the website and for like Claremont, Newfoundland, and you see the list there, and you got a little over 14,000 views, and then Liam Leonard, who was also a guest on this podcast, he comes in right behind you at 11,000.
Oh yeah. What's he at?
He's at 11,000. So
Okay. Yeah, I
there's
seen
about.
he's playing in St. John now, right?
Yeah, so he just got he was with Moncton and then got traded there in the off season to St. John's to finish out his OA year. He's been doing pretty good. Put a couple could a couple stumbled on my words, but he put a couple pucks in the net already. I think I think it's preseason right now for the Q, right? So I know I've seen him make the score sheet a
Yeah.
couple times. So no, hopefully yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And it's good for him too to make that as an overager as well. It's
Yeah,
a
well,
it's a good accomplishment for sure.
that's what a lot of people don't realize with junior hockey too, right? Especially like leagues like the Q and the O and the W, right? Like there's three OA spots, and like if you don't grab one of those, then you don't really know what is gonna kind of happen, right? So those spots are hot commodities for
For
sure.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
no, it's good for him to make that, and I'm sure he'll have a lengthy career after his junior days.
yeah, no, I'm excited for him. He's a great kid, but
Mhm.
back to you now. So after the Nepean days, you make your commitment to play NCAA Division 3 at Oswego. How did that decision all kind of come about?
Um, well, it was kind of last minute, honestly. I spoke to them throughout the year, like while I was playing. Obviously, it was a great school, and I went down. I watched one game down there. I never got like a full tour of the school or anything like that or the facility. I just watched the game, and it was awesome atmosphere. It was actually their whiteout game, so it was a sold out game. And after we finished, I didn't really know like what I was going to do, if I was going to go, CIS or college. I was still kind of waiting on that D1. Wasn't really going to happen. And my billets actually went down to Oswego and visited the school for me. Met the coach, took a bunch of pictures, found out where I was going to live. They kind of emailed me, called me like, "Yo, this place is going to be great for you. Like, you have to do it." And the next day, I think I called the coach and said, "Yeah, like I'm 100% in. I'll commit there." And I did. And I was actually a week late for school. And then yeah, I went there, and it was honestly the best 4 years of my life. I loved it.
Yeah, would you study there?
I took marketing.
Okay, how'd you manage
Yeah,
that student varsity athlete life?
it was different. I mean, I'm not going to like a Harvard or anything like
Yeah.
that, but you had to put your work in when you needed to. So we practiced 5 days a week and maybe 6 days sometimes, depending. Played on the weekend. So usually Sundays was work day, but we got it done.
Hmm. No, for sure. How did the like? What were the matchups like? I know you mentioned that like whiteout game on your visit was pretty incredible, but was there any other like big kind of moments like that as well? that you
Yeah.
played in?
So, whiteout games, obviously, yeah, whiteout games, the biggest. That's against Plattsburgh. It's always sold out every single time there's a whiteout game. The lineup starts, it goes for kilometers. People wait like the whole day to get into the rink. So that's a cool game for sure. Towards the end, Geneseo was getting pretty good. So those were always, some pretty good games. SUNYAC finals were always good. My first year, we made it to the Final Four. So that was pretty cool. But, anytime we got to play at home was pretty special. We got great fan support. The student section was, unbelievable. So yeah, there was a lot of good games. It was fun.
No, that sounds awesome. I love student sections in the states. Honestly, just seem to be pretty unmatched.
Yeah, no, they're pretty cool for sure.
So I mean, after your time there, things kind of transition a little bit, and you also find yourself in Germany for a little stint. Just kind of take me through that decision, and just even just your experience of being in Germany for as long as you were.
Yeah, so after my senior year at school, we got knocked out. I think final eight maybe, and then I actually went down to Pensacola and finished the year out down there in the SP, which
Hmm.
was awesome. It was so much fun. You live right on the beach, and you get to go to the rink for 8 o'clock. You're back home in the condo by 10. You're on the beach by 12. So that life was fun. Um, but yeah, I always wanted to go to Europe and kind of play. I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I didn't really have an agent kind of advising me. So I actually committed to a team in France at first and then found out, it wasn't the best spot. So I decommitted from there and then decided to go to Germany. And it was cool. It was different. My setup wasn't the best. The team was not very good. The league was pretty good. Um, but the top teams were really good and the bottom teams were really bad. And I was on a really bad team. Like we were losing games like, 13-0, 12-1, games like that, which were no fun. And I ended up getting hurt over there and couldn't really, get the right treatment to get myself, back feeling, 100% comfortable playing again. So I just kind of made a decision, it's time to come back home and get healthy again. And I decided to come back and went back down to Pensacola and finished out down there. But Germany was cool. Like it was a new experience. I got to see the world a bit over there. I got to go to Ireland for a week, which was awesome, and understand that there's good hockey over there. Like it's so skilled and the rinks are so big. It's definitely a different game.
No, I couldn't agree more. I was lucky enough to tag along with the men's hockey team at U Ottawa last August, and they did 3 preseason games over in Germany against some Division Two and I think one Division Three Germany teams. And like honestly, like yeah, the atmosphere is incredible, and
Mhm.
the hockey's pretty good. I think we were playing like the top end. And teams and whatnot of Division Two and whatnot. And it's yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like the fans there too are pretty committed. You mentioned too, like you didn't really have an agent at some point in that process. Did you like obtain an agent, or was that just kind of something that you kept a
Yeah,
secret?
I think if I had my time back, I would have probably did it a little different.
Yeah.
But you don't really know a whole lot. Like you're not going to the NHL, you're not going to the AHL, so you're like, well, I can do it by myself. And realistically, I probably should have got an agent and figured out like where the best teams were and what teams got treated good. But I had a guy help me out right at the end, and it was kind of late. So he was like, listen, start here, put your year in. It might not be the best, but it just didn't kind of work out. And I came back and went back to Pensacola, went back to the beach.
Yeah, man, it honestly seems like a pretty good spot to end up if you're ending up on a beach.
Yeah, for sure.
So now you've been like kind of still playing hockey within the Cornwall area for a little bit there, and then Maxville as well. So I mean, kind of explain that to me, and
Hmm.
what's that been like?
Yeah. So when I guess not the year that just passed, the year before was my first year done playing. Wasn't really playing anything at all, and then there's kind of like a new senior league, and it was in Ontario, a little bit in Quebec, not a whole lot. But Cornwall had a team, so Christmas time they reached out to me. We were like, "Hey, do you want to play?" I knew nothing about it, so I was like, "Yeah, for sure, I'll play." So I think I played 10 games. It was pretty competitive, and then this year there was a new league in Ottawa, so there was Ottawa, Maxville, West Carleton. There was another team that I can't remember who they are. But yeah, there was a 4-team league, and it was the same thing as back home. It was just senior hockey. It was There's some good players, there's some average players, but it was fun. It was a good skate, and we actually won the league, which was kind of cool.
Nice. Do you think
We finished.
do you think we'd ever see Kenneth Neal in a senior hockey league Caribous jersey someday, or
I don't know about that. I can't really see myself moving back to Claremont anytime soon.
yeah, fair enough. What have you been up to since you've been in Ottawa, just like work wise?
Just working, man.
Yeah.
Just trying to do something new. Trying to get as much golf in as I can. Pick that up. Still suck, but I love it.
That seems to be everybody's golf rating for themselves. They're like, you know what, I love it, but I just suck at it.
I know. I wish I played it more when I was a kid, but I just never did.
Yeah,
Now I try to play as much as I can.
Grant, Grant Ellis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Grant's a good buddy of mine, and like he was really him and Jeremy Blunden were the two only guys who were really into golf, um, with like within my group and whatnot. And I mean, Grant was too competitive and too good to really be patient enough to take me along with him, right? And me and Jeremy went one time, he almost killed me with a golf cart, and that was a whole other
Yeah.
story. Yeah, we
Yeah.
lost control of it and hit the bridge like in tearing over or whatnot, and I kind of like went flying out through the windshield and almost like fell out over the bridge too. It was,
That's a pretty good course out there, though.
yeah, oh
I
yeah,
like that course.
it's beautiful. Yeah, I was just kind of holding on for dear life and whatnot. It was I did though. I actually hit my first career par after the near death experience. So I guess it wasn't
There you go.
all
Wasn't all
bad.
bad.
No, not
No.
at all. So Kenneth,
Mm.
man, this is actually the part of the podcast where I just, hand the show over to you. So it's anything that you want to chat about. It could be a life lesson, childhood story. It's really up to you. But yeah, the show is yours.
No, man, it's it's awesome to see people from back home be successful, rather it be hockey or volleyball or music or what you're doing now with the podcast. It's awesome to see. So keep it up. I like watching them, and I'm sure everyone back home likes watching them.
Hey, yeah, no, man, I appreciate the kind words there, and yeah, this is kind of, I guess, a good note to leave it off on. Kenneth, man, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and guys, thank you for listening. And if you enjoy this podcast, make sure to share with a friend. And like always, in the meantime, stay best kind.